Namaskaram, world raisers. Roger and Sabina here. Welcome to Raise the World Project Now Talks, where we answer some of your wonderful questions that we've received in the comment sections. But before we get started, we just want to shout out and thank our channel members. Thank you so much for all of your support. We could not continue to do this for much longer without you.
And hopefully a few more. So please, people, check it out. Thank you.
Cake. We eat a lot of cake. Sabina has a lot of family members, and every time they have a birthday, even though they're on the other side of the planet, she has to bake a cake. Right? And they're not here to eat the cake. So we have to eat the cake all by ourselves. At least 2 cakes a month.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, we have a lot of cake lately. Yeah, all vegan cakes. So what do we eat? No, we're not 100% vegan, but I only cook and bake here vegan because I love it.
Yeah, we do care about the animals, but that's not the reason. For me, it's because how the body feels, right? So for me, it's more experiential. And the story is being in a Buddhist monastery, eating only vegetarian for a month felt really good. The body felt amazing. And then I left the monastery and then I ate meat like the next day. I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat. I think I had lasagna, right?
I don't know.
In Nepal. No, I did. And then I ate meat again for a couple days during that little break. And I felt awful. I felt horrible. My lightedness, my awareness and my state of mind, it just crashed, right? And I felt horrible. And then I went back to the monastery for the 3-month retreat where me and Sabina met. And then it was back to being vegetarian. And then I haven't eaten meat since then, right? So I stayed.
Yeah, for me it was 2008. I read a book and it said, but the body doesn't need meat. And at that time I was a real rebel and I always did the opposite of what people told me to do. So that's how I became vegetarian. So also not for the animals, but over time I then started caring for the animals too. And then I came to Buddhism after and etc. This is just a personal preference, and I used to tell people what to eat and what not to eat, and I stopped doing that. So I don't care anymore what people eat and don't. I don't go out there and promote vegetarianism. I don't go out there and promote veganism. Everybody has their own path, and everybody will come, I don't know.
People can still advance spiritually even if they're eating meat, right? So the quote I always say is from Jesus Christ. He says, it doesn't matter what you put into your mouth. It's what comes out of your mouth that matters most. And that's the sense of, what level of consciousness are you at? If you have hate and anger and envy and jealousy, like negativity and spite and revenge, and you're holding this in mind, then you're going to say some bad things, possibly some hurtful things, and that's going to give you karma. And that's technically what sin is. That's an error, right? So that is going to damage you much more than eating an animal for your survival. I haven't worked in about 2 years due to the whole global situation, so I was let go and I chose not to go pursue and look for another job. I decided to just dive into, doing something meaningful and beneficial and spiritual, and then that led me to YouTube and the creation of this channel. But the profession that I did, practice and do was I was a welder, basically a steel fabricator and a pipe fitter. So I'm a journeyman in 3 trades: welding, pipe fitting, and steel fabrication, and also a QC inspector. But most of the time I was welding and fabricating and actually managing and running shops for quite some time. And that allowed me to make pretty good money in Alberta with those trades. I saved up a lot of money, and that's what allowed me to travel for quite some time. I traveled for 2 years in a row with Sabina on our spiritual adventures. But anyway, that's what I did.
And was it your dream job?
No. But I didn't really have a dream job. To me, I was okay with just, working to make money, especially when I became spiritual. Then spirituality was my total soul focus. And then bringing that into, a work environment, right? I was able to, run shops with integrity, and I hope I transformed some environments for the better, and made places much more positive to be in. So yeah, it was a great experience, and I always kind of rose to the top of whatever job I was in.
Yeah. When I finished school, I went to university, but only for a year, and then I stopped, so I never finished studying, and I never did an apprenticeship because I started traveling right away and started volunteering, and volunteering was my job for a long time, or woofing, working for food and accommodation, and I really loved that. The first time I earned money was as a avocado picker in Australia on my travels, and blueberry picking. But then later, when I really wanted to start traveling a lot in India and Nepal, I found a job, and I only needed a 5-day training for that, and that is care work, to be a personal assistant to people with spinal injuries. And I did that. I was like my own boss. I was working for a company, but I could tell them when I was available and not, because I was a live-in carer. I didn't have to have a house or a car or anything. So I did that in the UK, and it was serving me perfectly for the way I was living. So I would work like 10 months at the time, and then travel, and I did that 3 times, I think, in total. Quite interesting experiences there, but I was also very fortunate to come across now a very dear friend, and oh god, I could start crying. Anyways, I stop here.
So meditation for me, has always been a big part of my life since I became spiritual, but I'm not like a hardcore, it has to be like this every day, like dedicated schedule all the time. Like I'm not strict in that regard, but I do, try to meditate, every morning, unless it's something, that we got to get up early and start recording videos
Like
or
today.
whatever it is. But usually just in day-to-day life, I'll spend about half an hour meditating every day and do the Wim Hof breathing. Right now I'm doing the Course in Miracles, right? So I'll meditate on that. But meditation, in general, when I'm doing it, not part of the Course in Miracles, if I'm just going to sit and meditate, it's a lot of basically Dzogchen meditation, which should be awareness of awareness, right? So I'll get into awareness of the body to start, and then gradually and more subtle, just becoming aware of the awareness, and then letting that take over, and then just resting in that to the degree that I'm capable of. I'm not saying that I got this high samadhi of awareness, but I'm very much aware of my awareness. So that's my practice, and then just resting in that awareness. And it's sometimes gets very content and peaceful, and bliss arises. I'm not going to say to the degree of the enlightened masters, the ecstatic ecstasy and joyful bliss, but no, just a general well-being and contentment, right? So that's my meditation.
Yeah, meditation is interesting because it's like such a big part of spirituality and Buddhism. And I do have my phases over the years. There was only once and now twice in my life that I had a practice and I kept going for it for months and really had benefits. And that was once in Australia when I was working at a farm. And now recently in September. But there was a long period of time for years where sitting still terrified me. And that was because I was constantly triggered and in a state of fight and flight, and had to work out some traumas first with a therapist. And after that, the mind is more settled and then ready for meditation. And then when I did the meditation mastery retreat online in September, I yeah, that was epic. Never had meditations like that or experiences like that, and the well-being and the joy and the bliss that sprung forth from these meditations and teachings, it was just beyond anything I ever experienced. So I kept that going for 3 months. It was extraordinary. And then I had a valley experience. My teacher calls it, we have our peaks and valleys. And in these valleys, there's not much meditation going on because you feel more solid, you feel more identified with yourself, you have more thoughts going on. But it's not a bad thing, because this is almost like integration into daily life, what you learned in these experiences. And it's almost like another level still, because I was not like going back to how I was before the meditation mastery, because I gained so much more wisdom and experience and a totally new level of faith that I was then bringing into this valley experience. And there was not much formal meditation going on, but there was a constant, throughout the day, checking in and knowing and being aware of where you're coming from and what you're experiencing, and lots of purification and lots of insights into what is going on. And usually like there was a topic coming up all over the place that really needed to be dealt with. And since that is getting better and better, I feel also more settled again and more ready to sit. Like yesterday we were sitting with our group, with my peer group, my little sangha, for an hour, and it was just very beautiful. So I wouldn't say I have a daily meditation practice, because it's always up and down. It's never but every day I am conscious of my journey and of the bigger picture, right? Not just of this physical appearance and this life, but the whole spectrum of the I am. And when I sit, and then I also practice awareness. Awareness of awareness. I only had a few tastes, but being aware happens.
Take it away.
No. You start. This is God. This is a big topic.
God. This is a big topic. So my view of God, if you watched our God series that we did a couple weeks ago, you'll get a pretty good idea and understanding of how I view God. So to me, God is the ultimate, the infinite, the supreme, the absolute source of all of existence, beyond existence and non-existence. So beyond that it could be manifest and unmanifest, form or non-form, and the form of God could come out of the non-form, or the non-form can come out of the form, because it's so beyond that we can't even know. So in that regard, the God, if I was to pick, that I do worship, it would be Krishna, just because I have a very strong connection with the Bhagavad Gita, which was a mind-blowing experience for me when I first dived into it. I actually watched YouTube videos for the first time, and I meditated, and I did it for a long time. I would meditate and listening to the Bhagavad Gita, and then it was just whoa. So this was without any sort of commentaries. It was just my own download of it. And it blew my mind. So Krishna, and also because I'm a student of Dr. David R. Hawkins, and if you know his work, it's dealing with consciousness calibration research. And I won't go into the details, but he calibrated, Krishna and Jesus and Buddha at 1,000, which is the highest level. And I'm not saying you have to believe that. I'm just saying that was, the teachings that I came across at that time. And then that led me to dive into the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, with an open mind, saying not that I automatically believe that, but I was able to be like, take it in. So then I was able to listen to the Bhagavad Gita, thinking that, okay, well, this is probably truth. And then, so there wasn't any barriers. I was able to, experience it as truth. Like, this is God telling us what's up, right? And so to me, Krishna, and that's not lessening any other deities, because if you understand the highest teachings, from that point of view, you're open to many teachers, many gurus, many incarnations, many manifestations, many deities, many devas, many angels and archangels and all sorts of spiritual beings in a big pantheon of truth, ultimately coming from one supreme source. So ultimately, yeah, I do believe in non-duality, but there is duality within non-duality. So there's many views and expression, but they're all contained, within the highest. So I'm not against anybody else's view, because everybody else's view is contained in my view. So,
Nice.
so that's God. It's the ultimate, right? So that's why I believe you don't have to think that Krishna form is God, even though I do believe Krishna is God, because you can believe that Shiva is God. And to me, that's also Krishna. So, but you don't have to think of anything as Krishna. You could say that Krishna was just a spiritual teacher, an awakened being, or an enlightened master, and then taught from that point of view, but he wasn't actually God. That's okay. You can think that as well, right? Because it's the ultimate. It's beyond our conception. So we need to surrender onto the truth and seek that for ourselves and evolve spiritually as much as possible. So whatever is beneficial for you or anybody on the journey is A-okay, 100%, yeah, let's go for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my turn. Can't really beat this. Just a few sentences. God for me is like the infinite unfolding, the one source, the absolute. And yeah, for me it has no form personally. I can imagine that God can manifest as form, and totally accept the people that worship Krishna as God. If I would have to pick a god, a deity, it would be Shiva. When I think of Shiva, it makes me expand. But I don't worship Shiva as such. For me, God is formless. Is formless, and but I do pray to God, but not in a form, no. And I do pray to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, to receive blessings.
And her view, as you might have guessed, is contained within my view. So there's no conflict, even though you have a Shiva devotee and a Krishna devotee. How do we get along? Well,
perfectly.
Perfectly all the time. No problem. Just kidding, but we'll save that. We'll save our relationship discussions for maybe another episode. Yeah, so I love this question. So the Buddha, my favorite teaching of the Buddha, and I always say this, and I've said it ever since I learned this teaching, I was just so incredibly moved, and I had insights, and it was, a great, great moment for me when I came across this teaching. It is the teaching of the precious human rebirth, saying that this is the most precious human opportunity in all of existence. To be born as a human being is the greatest gift, because we know that there's a whole bunch of other beings. There's animal realms, there's hell realms, there's other dimensions, and even there's the God realms and the demigod realms. But those aren't even as good as being born a human, because we have this opportunity to advance spiritually, right? So it's just, for me, it is my favorite teaching by the Buddha, because it keeps me focused on the path. Because remember, we're all going to be dead someday, right? Like all of this, everything that I'm doing and everything that's happening as physical body, person, Roger, right? That's going to be gone. It's temporary. It's transient. And there's going to be a death, and then there's going to be an after-death experience. So the further advanced I am, the better that after-death experience is going to be. Whether you believe in reincarnation or you believe in heaven and hell, even heaven, if you go to heaven and then you manifest there, that's a reincarnation, isn't it? Right? If you go to hell, well, you're reincarnation as a hell being, right? So to me, I don't really get into the debates of do we reincarnate, or do you only have one life? Even if you believe you only have one life, there is some truth to that. As the ego-identified being Roger, there's never been an ego-identified being Roger. But, what happens after we die? And then something, right? If you're spiritual or religious, you got to believe something happens. So then how do we prepare for that?
Sorry.
Evolve spiritually.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that question, but something just popped in my mind. It's a dukkha, a suffering. Every life is suffering. And when I heard it the first time, I just could not believe it, because I never thought of that before. The Buddha taught that everything literally is suffering, because we come from a place of ignorance. Yeah? And so then, of course, he did not just teach that, but he taught that there is a way out of suffering. So that is my favorite teaching. Just becoming aware and acknowledging that everything is suffering. Like, nobody teaches you that. Like, nobody's aware of that there is another level to this life than just where we're at, right? With all our jealousy and anger and irritation and impatience and wants and needs and desires. And it's like, that's where most people operate from. That's where every teenager is operating from, totally going crazy. And nobody teaches you that, it doesn't have to be that way, that there is a way out of that. Or, yeah. So I love that. I fell in love with those teachings, and I had faith in them right away. That, like, there was no question. And I applied it, and I could see that I was becoming a more happy person. Of course, I had a valley experience again afterwards, where that, where all the suffering really was real again, but only it came up because it needed to be transcended and processed. So that's my favorite teachings, and it's a very good reminder that even when we're happy and we think we're happy, it's not the end of the path.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For Raise the World Project Now Talks. If you have any more questions, we're going to be doing these regularly, so please leave them down in the comments.
Yeah.
And if you want to answer any of these questions yourselves, let us know. We love hearing from you and all you spiritual people out there. We're on the path together. We're really enjoying this wonderful community with all of you. And we look forward to seeing you on more videos. So thanks so much for joining us. Remember to hit the like button. Helps the video and the channel. And remember, raise yourself.
And raise the world. Thank you so much, everyone. We love you.
Peace.